Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to our closing session for Open Education Southern Symposium. My name is Stephanie Pierce. I am the organizer of this event, and who I have joining me today, they'll introduce themselves here in a moment, but they are some of our faculty and OER team members here on the University of Arkansas campus who have participated in our Open Education Conversion Program. So before we get started with our Q&A of the panel, I'm going to have each panelist introduce themselves, their name and role on campus. So whoever wants to go first.
I'm Jim Gigantino. I'm a faculty member in the history department.
I'm Julio Cabanez. I'm faculty member in physics.
I'm Daniel Barth. I'm a faculty member in STEM education.
I'm Mike Thompson. I'm on the faculty in agricultural economics and ag business.
I'm Scott Wright. I'm an instructional designer with the University's Global Campus.
And I'm Elaine Thornton. I'm the Open Education and Distance Learning Librarian for the University of Arkansas Libraries.
Thank you. So my very first question to the panel is, how did you become interested in open education? I want to answer first.
I can go ahead and start, guys. I became interested in open education. I run a program called Astronomy for Educators. It's kind of a niche program. It's not like ag business and things, which are in physics, which are more popular and more mainstream. And so it's very hard to get materials that are appropriate. I found I've been over the years creating most of my materials, and Open Ed Resources allows me to take textbook materials I've created and make them available to other teachers to benefit basically high school and middle and elementary schools across our state and region.
I think one of the reasons I'm interested in open education is, as you think about the academy, if I do research, I share that with everybody. If I don't, you don't get tenure, right? And you don't get promoted and nothing good happens.
Right.
And so, the research, we just are so aimed on sharing, but what happens to my course? Well, it gets stuck in Blackboard and nobody can see it unless you're in the class. And it just seems like we're so isolated with respect to teaching. There's such, we learn so much from each other. And I really think, with an open education resources, kind of with a copyleft mentality, my vision would be that people would contribute, you would be building over time these really great courses. And so that's kind of what I would see as the real potential of open education.
I always say that I didn't pick open education. Open education picked me. I worked for an institution before coming here to Fayetteville that prided itself in having students not have to pay for textbooks. So a lot of working with faculty involved finding open resources, OER textbooks that were available. And so it became kind of a way of life for me while I was briefly at that institution. And so coming here, it's the set of skills that you develop over that time just kind of naturally transfer.
About 3 years ago, I took over as our department's associate chair and director of graduate studies. The staff member who was working with me did all of our course scheduling. The very, very first thing that she told me, she said, "I've been worrying about this for 4 years, and someone needs to do something about it. And our cost of our textbooks are too high, especially in our survey courses. And we teach a lot of lower division, U.S. and world history survey courses. We'll have around 2,000 students a semester in our lower division survey courses. And the disparity between, you could take the very same course, and some instructors were requiring no textbook. So, and then you had other instructors who were requiring $300 worth of textbooks. And what she was finding from her perspective was the ones that were requiring $300, they were not enrolling very well. And then number two was there was a real barrier to students. And I think that was one thing that I wanted to take on in that position. And so we did what got me interested in OER was we did I used some Freakonomics on my instructors, and I gave them the average cost of the textbooks for all of their sections, and told them what their average cost or their cost was, and told them that they didn't need to change, but if you could take into consideration textbook cost, that would be great. We've lowered our textbook costs over the last 3 years in our survey classes by about 40%, just by doing some calculations and averages. And so a lot of instructors actually went to looking at OER resources and have adopted OER in some of those courses. And so that got me excited about OER to adopt it in my own.
Yeah, we had also, my main motivation to get involved in this was that I was teaching the introductory physics course. I was teaching the first semester of that course. The person who had taught the second semester before me had actually developed his own, essentially a textbook that he made available to the students for free. So the students, the second semester students didn't need that textbook, and because there was something in place already. And so it seemed natural to do the same thing for the first semester students as well. So that was my primary motivation. That said, there is, in addition to this, there is there are a lot of resources for physics, at least available, open, freely, charged on the web in terms of demonstrations, simulations, and all kinds of things like that. So that's also something that I have been interested in over the years, trying to provide links to these things to my students. And it's one of the things that I have incorporated in this textbook that I have written. The electronic copy is full of links to some of these open sources on the web.
So I think I got interested in open education, partially, being a distance learning librarian, a lot of resources are difficult for students who are online students to find, and so I think, there's a great place for OER within that realm. Also, just, I think libraries are well positioned to help, raise awareness about OER. It's great. We get to talk to all different kinds of faculty members. And a lot of times when students can't afford textbooks, they come to the library. Well, we all know that the library cannot afford to buy textbooks for every student. So, I kind of like that, the advocacy role that libraries can play in advancing OER. So, that's kind of my, what spurred me to be really interested in OER.
Thank you. So Elaine, this next question is for you. Could you please explain how our OER conversion program works here?
Okay, so I arrived here in January of 2016, and the previous semester, I think university libraries had started doing some work and becoming interested in OER and creating a program here on campus. Eventually, by the fall of 2016, we began to launch our program. We partnered, the University Libraries has partnered with Global Campus, which is our distance learning kind of college. They coordinate all the distance learning programs on campus. We're starting our 4th semester of the program. So far, we've had 12 awardees over the past 3 semesters. Dr. Thomas's project is our first finished project, totally finished project. We operate as a core team that includes librarians and instructional designers. We also have a campus advisory group. This semester, we've been able to really do a lot to talk to more faculty about the program and about OER. We've talked to over 180 faculty members through a partnership with the teaching center on campus. So we have a pre-application consultation with potential applicants. They will submit their proposals. They will be reviewed by the team and the campus advisory group. The selected applications will submit timelines. They have up to 3 semesters to finish their projects. This does not include summers. And our funding is paid out in milestones. So for each stage of their timeline that they meet, the participants will get funding. We will put the finished projects in our institutional repository, and also, post information out to listserv. So we're going to try to do a lot to, let the OER community at large know about our finished projects. So that's basically how it works here right now. It's been a learning process, and we tweak it and change it as we go every semester.
Thank you. So the next question is for our faculty members on the panel, Dr. Thompson, Dr. Aya, Dr. Bivitino, and Dr. Hart. You kind of briefly touched on it, but could you explain a little bit more in depthly of why you decided to move to using and or creating OER for your courses?
So I guess I've always been a little bit frustrated with the quality of textbooks. They're expensive, but they're also, as a general rule, pretty awful. And so I was kind of doing a lot of stuff that could go into OER. I just didn't really know about OER. I had a lot of materials I developed for the course, and so this the university's program just really kind of provided an opportunity to pull that together, get it licensed correctly, make it available, to others, and then in the process of that, really filling in the holes that I didn't have within my materials. And so it's been kind of a long process, but that was really a catalyst to kind of to make a real change and move to OER.
For my case, there's a pretty fundamental gap between a textbook project that's economically viable for a publisher and a textbook project that fills the need for existing teachers and faculty. In the case of a program to train elementary, middle, and secondary educators to teach astronomy and space science, you couldn't get a publisher interested in that sort of a project on a bet. It just doesn't have the kind of breadth that where a major publisher would say, I'll take a bet on sinking, $100,000 to $200,000 into producing that textbook. On the other hand, there's a screaming need for teachers to be trained in offering astronomy and space science, STEM project-oriented materials in K through 12, and particularly K-8 classes. And so this gives me an opportunity to take my expertise and put it into play, put it on offer, not just for students here at our university who are taking the classes, but for a lot of working teachers who need a straightforward, usable how-to manual in order to bootstrap themselves into doing more STEM in their classrooms. I do a fair amount of professional development during the year. I go out to lots of schools and train working teachers, and they all say, where can I find a book on this? Yeah. And before I found OER, my answer was, well, I can email you some stuff, but there really isn't one. And now, thanks to OER, I can say, yes, it exists and you can have it for free, which is just tremendous.
Yeah, I have touched on my own motivation directly to develop this physics textbook. I'm not sure I would quite put it as strongly as that textbooks are terrible. But it's true that physics textbooks in particular, in my lifetime, they have just been getting thicker and thicker and thicker. And it seems that the trend is to try to make the textbook fill all the functions that the professor would. Yes. Which is counterproductive because nobody reads the textbook anymore. It's just this thick volume that very few students actually dare go through it because it's just intimidating sheer size. So the cynic in me would say the students are not going to read the textbook anyway. You might as well A, make it short, and B, give it to them for free. That's what I try to do. So my textbook is so much. It's much shorter. It's really concise and it's free. So, and the students are, still not reading it, or half and half. Basically, my estimate is that about half the class, I don't know how many used to read the old textbook, but I think that even though I try to motivate them to read the material I got from the lecture and all that, I probably only get about a 60% success rate. But
So my catalyst was, in our department, we embarked on a new model for teaching the survey, the introductory surveys. And so for a long time, our general survey courses were being taught by graduate assistants and part-time folks, for the most part, that were in our doctoral program. We had seen through the large enrollment growth that we've seen at the university over the years, our permanent faculty were migrating more towards the upper level courses, and no one was really teaching the lower division courses anymore. And that was kind of hurting us on the back end because our best instructors were not teaching the lower division courses and not engaging large numbers of students that go through there. So we were recruiting more, less and less majors. And so all of the other fields you are represented here have grown over the last 6 years. Mine has shrunk. So what we decided to do was kind of change our model and put tenure track faculty back in the surveys and have larger surveys. Our surveys were about 35 students. And we decided to go to a model where we had 120 students in 1 or 2 surveys a semester taught by a tenured or tenure track person, and ideally someone who was an award-winning teacher to be able to engage those students. And so I was asking my faculty to do that, and I felt that I couldn't ask them to do it if I wasn't willing to do it. So that was part of this revamping my survey course from that 35-person model to a larger classroom where you can't do the same things on your 20-person class. And so my kind of interest in lowering textbook costs kind of dovetailed with the whole kind of revamp of my course over the last semesters.
Thank you. Scott, this question is for you specifically. As an instructional designer with Global Campus, you and your colleagues often help faculty plan and design online courses. How is this translated to providing OER conversion support?
Well, pretty seamlessly, because a lot of the things that you're going to look for in terms of your normal curriculum and you're developing an online course, you're going to be the same things that you look for in adopting OER for a course, whether it be face-to-face or online. You're going to be looking at the caliber, the quality of the material. You're going to be looking at the accessibility of it. You're also going to be looking at, kind of piggybacking off that, can you get it in the format need it for, say, in your learning, management system. So, it all, went pretty seamlessly, I would say. I would say it's really working with that faculty, finding the exact material that they need for their specific course that they're working in. So, as overall, it was just pretty seamless from my point of view, and a few of the other IDs that, I work with some of our faculty in the program.
Great. So the rest of the questions are for the panel as a whole. The first is, what are some challenges you've encountered in working or creating OER?
I think for me, one of the challenges is that this whole revamp of the course and integrating an OER textbook, it forces you to actually reimagine your course from square one. And in an introductory level course, I've been teaching this course for 15 years almost, and it gets kind of rote, and the same jokes go in the same place. Then you date yourself because the jokes are old. You're referencing. But it's OER is actually this project has actually breathed a new life into the course. Engaged me in a new way that I hadn't been engaged with this introductory level course for a while. And so it's really forced me to question, why do I do certain things? Why do I do this in this day and that in another day, and don't cover this topic, but cover this one 4 different days? So that's been one of the challenges. It's kind of like I'm a new graduate student again, teaching for the first time is figuring out what do I want to cover, why, building from the ground up, which has been exciting and sometimes the challenging.
In my case, I think probably the most challenging thing was just putting the whole thing together. It's a lot of work actually, and I think that I'm pretty sure that I would never have undertaken this if I hadn't had a bit of an incentive in the form of this award. So I'm very grateful for that. There were other challenges, there were constraints. The course, our course is very tightly integrated with the labs, so I had to basically organize the material in a certain way so that whenever I deviated from that arrangement, I had to rearrange the labs so that they would follow the material. So there was a lot of reworking. And then an interesting thing happened, which is now that I got the textbook, then there is a bit of when you said about the jokes. I mean, I have put all the stuff is there already. So now what am I going to do in the classroom when I go to lecture? I cannot just read the textbook to the students. So I'm trying to this semester, which is when I am actually lecturing from the textbook. I am trying to do a sort of flipped classroom approach, but I tell them to read the book first and then come to class and ask questions. Few people ask questions, so I end up asking them questions to see what. That's how I can tell that 40% of them haven't actually read the book. So keep asking them questions that are right there on the first page that they were supposed to read from today. But it's exciting. It's challenging, but it's exciting. It's still ongoing.
Writing a textbook for teachers forced me to think about pedagogy and learning theory. I'm very much a constructivist. I taught physics and astronomy for many years, but having to sit down and explain to teachers who are not physicists and astronomers how to teach and explore these subjects forced me to think about explaining the pedagogy and making explicit some of the things that are simply internal processes for me. It crystallized and clarified a lot of my thinking on the teaching of STEM science, and I'm hoping that this text and the exposition I've made makes it possible for more teachers to put a toe in the water of teaching STEM activities where they might not have before. And the organization, as he said, the organizational work, putting everything in a consistent format for an entire course it's a formidable amount of work. About a year for me, from start to finish.
Yeah, I'd echo what's been said. I think there's some unique challenges when it's your material that you're adopting, because a lot of the things that you used to say in class now in the book, and that it did take this last semester some time to kind of hit a rhythm with the students and to kind of meet that stride. The other thing that maybe hasn't been mentioned is I kind of found it challenging dealing with understanding licensing and understanding the different applications and what can you use, what can't you use. I think there's a big challenge because the thing about open textbooks and being free, I think the important part of free is that they're open and they're free to use. They're free to modify. It might be free as in a free candy bar, but that's not the important part of freedom. That's important. The important thing is, and I don't know that we have the ability to take advantage of that yet. But I don't think we're doing that quite as well as we could.
I would say I work with primarily the College of Education and Health Professions here at the university, and I work in a lot of graduate programs that are 5,000, 6,000 level courses. So probably one of the biggest challenges that I run into is there's not a lot of OER out there for maybe that specific program or that specific course. And then when I, talk to our faculty, I'm like, well, why did you think about creating your own? Well, you run into some resistance with that because, as they've said, it requires a lot of hard work and a lot of time. And then you've got to sell them on making it open for the rest of, the higher ed community or anyone who wants to use it. So those have probably been my two stumbling blocks as far as working with faculty that I've seen so far.
Mm-hmm. And I think from the perspective of, kind of launching the program here on campus, one of our biggest challenges is raising awareness among the faculty. As you've seen, people have been working on doing their own thing for a while, but, getting the word out on campus that we're, trying to launch this program and making sure all the faculty know about it and can take advantage of it has been one of our biggest challenges. We've sort of dedicated this year to trying to get the word out more to faculty, talking to more people. We've had lots of one-on-one conversations. We, try to go to faculty events to make sure that, they know about OER and about the actual program we have here on campus.
So in comparison, what are some of the positives you've encountered or experienced as part of this program and the process as a whole?
I can do it my way.
Yeah.
I was just bringing in the Sinatra song. The younger people wouldn't get it, and the older people would think my version was terrible. being able to seriously, my frustration with textbooks, I love your textbooks are terrible, but really most of my problems with textbooks are not so much that they're technically terrible, or factually terrible, or actually terrible, but just looking at them and saying, I don't want to do it.
Right.
And OER lets me go ahead and do it my own way. And my students all know that I'm ornery and kind of run headfirst against the rules all the time anyhow. So the OER really gives me freedom to, and if it's terrible now, it's my fault. So everybody knows what we're thinking at this point. So.
I probably misspoke. I didn't mean all textbooks are terrible. But very often, my experience is, I can't believe this is this much money. What's there?
Right.
And there are some very good textbooks. I didn't mean to make a statement yet. Others are really involved in textbooks. But I think one of the real joys was just building this. So the OER that I developed, it's not an EPUB, it's not a PDF, it's actually written in R Markdown, and those of you who do statistics will know about R, but it's just a real wonderful open source resource. And so I learned a lot about R and it was just real fun to do. I mean, it was, there were times when it wasn't that fun, but I'd say, oh, I have to work on this manuscript, I can't, but it was kind of just a real kind of creative experience. And I think the students have appreciated it. I don't know, my evaluations actually went down. But I think it's because of some of the challenges that were mentioned, but the written evaluations on the textbook itself or the resource, whatever we want to call it, were really very positive. And so I think it's been a benefit to the students hopefully.
I think one of the greatest joys I've had is that I've actually got to work with instructors outside of my assigned college. And it's just nice to work with like-minded people that are concerned about lowering the cost of higher education for students. We get a pretty bad rep, I think, sometimes in the press. It's like, oh, the cost of college is going up again this year, or how much is tuition gone up, for this school year. But it's just great working with people that are willing to put out the effort and the hard work, and they care, and they are trying to do a great job for students in their classes, but they also want to pass that along to everyone out there, and just overall, make college more affordable and help improve the quality of it altogether.
I have to echo what Scott said, and not just, the different people we've gotten to work with here, but like the larger OER community, like all of you who are interested in coming here and, just being able to, learn from others and be able to bring it back to the people at our institution, and to have willing ears who want to listen and, want to be a part of this program. And just some of the student groups that we've gotten to talk to, and the students who are interested in, are appreciative of our efforts and the faculty's efforts to, kind of find textbooks and that are less expensive, but still, very good for them to use.
I think for me, it was, having a I've done a lot with Global Campus in the past, designing online classes, been teaching online for a couple of years, and having someone that is there to help you when you need it. That I usually think I'm pretty good with Blackboard, but I'm not the greatest. And having someone who can say, oh yeah, that's how you do it, or we can take care of that for you. That's been very helpful for me, that someone has your back while you're going through this very time-intensive process of redesigning your course. And that kind of structural support, I think, is critical because a lot of faculty, it's kind of one of those things where if it's working, if it's not broke, don't fix it. My course was working just fine, but without that kind of structural support, to really help me revamp it, I don't know if I would have embarked on this as much as I have.
Yeah, I think it's basically in my case the most satisfying thing so far is really this, having it your way. It's having the material organized and presented in the way that makes sense to you and in the order that makes sense to you, and you don't have to tell the students, okay, we're going to skip chapter 5 or don't read section 5.7. Just go begin at the beginning and go all the way to the end. It's a small thing, but it's actually really satisfying. Anything else? I'm still, we're in the middle of the first semester experimenting here, so it would be very nice if the comments at the end of the semester were positive, but I cannot really anticipate it. So.
Wonderful. So we've kind of talked about positives and negatives, or opportunities. What are some of the reactions and feedback you've received from students, from your colleagues, from your supervisors, or even administrators, if any?
I haven't. I'm still in the development phase, so the rest of the group is more advanced than I am. I don't start until next semester. But one thing that I was really encouraged about was, when we did this Freakonomics experiment with my instructor pool, and it really got some very, very positive feedback from them. They would come see me in the hallway and say, "Oh, I just decided not to do any textbooks this semester," and it's working great. There's like this shock that you need a textbook to teach a good class, and you can use open access things, you can use articles and book chapters that you scan. There's plenty of history. There's plenty of stuff available on the internet to make a quality course, and I think it's decoupling this idea that we need that quality always means published book. And I don't think that's the case. If it were, what am I paying the person in standing in front of the room for? That they are the one that's supposed to build the quality. That said, I think a lot of my colleagues that tenure track colleagues are still skeptical of OER. I think we're still, in my opinion, we're still in a phase where a lot of faculty equate OER to a Wikipedia, and they don't know enough about OER to know that the things that I'm using are they're peer reviewed, just like a textbook would be, a published textbook, but free. And so I think that kind of education angle is still not there yet for a lot of faculty who haven't started thinking about it. So I'm still getting some skeptical looks in the hallway.
Yeah, I have had not much feedback yet. My chair really likes the idea, he likes the book, he likes things around it to my colleagues. So a few students have told me that they like it too, but I'm not sure if I believe them. Just trying to figure out my good side.
Most of my feedback has come from not inside the university at all, but from some of the working teachers who've been using the book. And they've been very positive about it because it's giving them access to methods and ideas for classroom projects that they didn't have before. And it's not costing them money. And for a working classroom teacher, it's not so much the cost of the book at all. it's the drudgery of having to go through the process with local principals, school district administration saying, can we pretty please have money to buy this textbook, and having to justify it all over the place. They simply can, I can go talk to them and I can say, I've got this, it's for free, you can have a copy. Really?
Yeah.
Yes, oh, that's so wonderful. I don't have to fight anybody and I can just dive in and use it. It means for the working teacher, instead of probably a 1 year lag time for adopting a new resource, for a new course or a new, and adopting instructional materials is even harder in some ways than classroom materials for K-12.
Yeah.
It means that they can just jump right in and have it now. They don't have that enforced delayed gratification that the bureaucracy of, American school system forces on.
Yeah, I mentioned this, the students seem to have appreciated it, and I have a colleague who's adopted it and is teaching with it this semester in the same course with a different section. And I don't have a lot of feedback yet. I mean, if there's something gone wrong, I'll hear about it. But typically of a technical nature, something in Chrome or something. And so anyway, but I would like more feedback from colleagues. I think that's what really would be needed.
I don't work directly with students, so I don't hear a lot of student feedback. But I will say that at Global Campus, our mission is to make education more accessible for students and for working adults. We work with different departments, different schools on campus, and also different businesses and industries in this area. And so I can say that the feedback that I've gotten from my director and our vice provost has been fantastic. They see, working with OER and implementing that, either in the face-to-face classroom or online, is just kind of flows in sync with our mission of, removing that as a barrier, to a more affordable education. So I can say that, having their support has been fantastic.
I thought you were going to say something else. Sorry. So, how would you like to see this program or OER in general move forward on our campus? If you have any thoughts.
We like more funding. So, growth and more funding. And I'd eventually like for us to be able to get to the place where we have course rankings and student enrollment schedule where they can mark the courses daily, so we are.
Any other thoughts before you? Yeah, good. Yeah.
I think one thing, that's, important for me is, thinking about and communicating to the faculty, what kind of barriers there are to students and interacting with, instructors. Sometimes I think we use our lens of the students that we interact with the most to put that against every other student. Well, if this student is like this, everyone else must be like it too. And, unfortunately, a lot of the undergraduate students that my faculty work with the most are usually honor students. They are, usually well-funded. And so there's a perception that textbook costs aren't a barrier to students. I think continuing to communicate, about 1 in 5 of our students on this campus are Pell-eligible students. And so, when I start talking to my faculty about that, if they're shocked that it's that high, and that, $200 or $250 textbook order, could prevent that student from taking your class. What I've found, and I've only been really had a lot more experience than me with this, but I've only been chair for 3 months, and telling faculty, that your course could be more, you get more students in the course that you want to teach, seems to motivate them.
Yeah.
So, thinking about that, a little more and really communicating with some facts and figures about how the textbook costs do impact us.
For myself, some of the courses I teach, we deal with a commercially published electronic online text, and comparing that experience with the OER, I've found that the online e-texts from major publishers tend to be complex, buggy. They crash a lot. We have tremendous amount of we have to play technician, we have to play IT tech as instructors, which I find very frustrating because I'm not that technically savvy, sorry. But with an OER, I can say, here it is, it's a much simpler textbook to access and to use. It doesn't have some of the scope and breadth of electronic resources, but then nothing stops our students from using search engines and all sorts of other things independently. I think OER just offers such a simpler model for accessing textbooks electronically than what the commercial publishers are doing. I would like to see more of my colleagues go OER route rather than the really expensive and difficult to use online e-text from the various major houses.
I'll build on what Elaine said. Yes, the funding is absolutely essential. I feel like this year has been kind of a watershed moment as far as expanding the knowledge and the awareness of what OER is and what can be done with it here on campus. I think we need to continue to work with our faculty, but also bring student government into the conversation as well. We've had a couple meetings with one of their representatives and just having the students give them a voice in the whole process. I think it's all about building those relationships, realizing that we're all here in good faith, and we're just trying to lower the cost of education how we can.
Okay, so the last question for the panel, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. What advice would you give to others thinking about creating a similar program or participating in such a program like this?
I think a lot of us are a lot closer to producing an OER text than we think. As faculty here at the university, we all create such a great volume of materials for our textbooks, but they tend to be scattered here and there or in different folders on Blackboard and in our computers. And I would be willing to wager that if a lot of us took our materials for a particular text as instructors and we collated them in one place and organized them in one place, I think you would find most of our professors on campus who are teaching courses are 2/3 to 3/4 of the way to a complete book. They're not as far away. And so I guess my advice would be go ahead and jump in. It takes a fair amount of work, but compared to the amount of work I do producing and revising materials for a course on a regular semester basis, it's not that much more. The gap between what I do normally and what I did to produce this book, it's not that far, but the rewards are great. So I would say jump on in, the water's fine.
Well, for those who want to start a program on the campus or you're considering it, I would say just start. You don't have to know everything in the beginning. We've certainly learned a lot along the way here. And even if you don't have funding, that doesn't stop you from talking to your faculty about considering OER when they're choosing textbooks. We have people who aren't part of the funding program, but who've adopted textbooks. So talk to your faculty frequently and often.
Okay, so I already have a hand up, so I didn't even have to bribe anybody with candy.
You may want to bribe others later. Chuck Pearson from Tuscaloosa University. I'm in a bit of a mood, so I'm going to beg patience. I knew physics. Our problems with representation in physics are noted. There's a headline out today that we have a female Nobel Prize winner who was an associate professor at Waterloo University in Canada, which gives us reason to wonder if we're getting the message of access, the message of representation around all parties. We had a keynote at this meeting from Jasmine Roberts, who very eloquently presented what representation means in open educational practices for how students can get engaged in courses. How, and with all respect to the panel that's up here, how do we get to a place where the people who are participating in the panel of this sort, or faculty, or the people who are running their mouths at meetings, I'll point the finger at myself too, how do we get to a place where we don't have so many white dudes? How do we get to a place where representation matters across the people who are generating open educational resources for students who look like
Or astronomers, when y'all out in the dark, y'all look the same. And frankly, I came to OER because of my expertise, not my gender or my politics or my complexion. So I reach out to people of, I want more students, more colleagues, but in terms of encouraging diversity, I think recruiting students into the classes first and generating enthusiasm and expertise. And to some extent, that's above my pay grade. The students who come to the university are chosen by the university. I recruit everyone I can get my dang hands on. I have no barriers. So in terms of encouraging diverse people to participate in OER, I hope we can reach out as a university to educators as a wider community, but I also hope that people who read my book do not, apart from perhaps my name, spot my gender or ethnicity in it. I hope that it's transparent to all people and accessible to all.
And I'd just add that, I think a real goal of the OER movement is to make high quality materials more accessible to everyone. I think there's students that come to class and they don't buy the book, and they're at a disadvantage. And why not level the playing field by giving everybody the same material?
The nice thing also about OER is you don't have to, it's not about who you know. There isn't the traditional who you know, who's your agent, what have you done before, buddy, kind of thing in publishing, which I've run into that a lot. And because OER is open to all, I think the representation will be there as the program grows because the barriers aren't there. And I think those institutional barriers being absent from OER is going to be the best bet of realizing what you're hoping for.
I got into one of the things. Cost was important to me for textbooks, and that's why I got into OER. But I also got into OER because personally, I've seen how in my own family there's economic inequality, and that was barrier to education. My wife was a Pell eligible student, and she got a Pell grant to come to school, and thank God she got Pell. Thank God she got a chancellor's grant to come to school here, because there's no way in heck that my in-laws were going to, making $25,000 a year, we're going to get her through this university into a 4-year degree. My father is the same way. My father is a first-generation student who, worked full-time and went to school at night. And struggled, and I remember that because I was a kid when he was doing that. We had 2 kids and was struggling to get through. Now, I think that we have, this is the kind of question is a chicken or the egg question, because the question is, how do we get more diverse faculty to be on panels like this? Well, the problem is, how do we get more diverse faculty in the university? Because if we want them to do, we seem to want our diverse faculty to do everything. Well, there's not enough of them. They're being pulled in 15 different ways. And so the real answer, I think, to your question is, how do we recruit faculty to come to our diverse faculty? But I think that kind of starts back at the beginning. My wife is an engineer. And, how are you going to get more women in being engineers? Well, my wife wouldn't have been an engineer unless this university stood up and, created a scholarship program like the Chancellor's Grant for low-income people. And so I think OER can start that process. And, you know, I hope that we can continue to open access to education. We'll have even more diverse pools of applicants for us to choose from. So there won't be more white people like us.
Can I just say real quick also that we reach out to all the faculty here to encourage them to participate in the program. So, you know, we don't control who submits an application, who finishes their project, who is involved. And remember, we're just getting started. So, you know, we've only had 12 participants so far. And, you know, we do hope that we have growth from all areas and sectors.
Jasmine Roberts, I'm really excited to hear from my people, faculty members. I teach at Ohio State, so thank you so much for sharing your experiences and creating the OER. Sometimes I feel like I'm alone since I've created open text for myself. So I really appreciate you all just sharing your experiences. I guess I'm at the stage in my OER career where I'm thinking about sustainability of the textbook that I created. And so I'm not sure if any of you guys who have actually, you know, if you're done creating an open textbook, have you thought about how to sustain that? How to make sure that, for example, the examples that you're using in the textbook are recent, how often do you update that? And yeah, just general thoughts about that process.
I'm already working on less people.
Yeah.
Seriously, this is astronomy for educators. The next book in the series will be astronomy for everyone. It'll be a similar hands-on approach. I don't know if that will be OER or not. I have a major company talking to me about that. To some extent, the success of this may bootstrap that. But I would like to do another OER project. I really enjoyed this one, and I don't know that it kind of has to flow from my expertise. And my expertise is narrower than my teaching load. So some of the classes I teach, I don't feel like I'm deep enough to write an OER textbook for. OER materials or an OER course or a set of lectures perhaps, but I've had enough fun with this project that I'm ready for some more.
I think that that's a very good question because I have wondered about that myself. I mean, of course, like I said, this is just the first semester. I'm still trying to figure out. It's entirely possible that I will end up at the end of the semester, I will end up cutting some things, adding a few more things, tweaking it in various ways. But in a way, it could be a never-ending project, right? And I'm not really sure if I want it to become a never-ending project. One of the things about not having anything in print or just having a temporary thing in print is that you can be tweaking it and a link here and another thing there and a figure there and so forth. But we do that in our teaching. I mean, we never teach the same class twice, right? We have our notes, but every semester we tweak them in one way or another. So, an open source textbook could become something like that. And like I said, I have mixed feelings about it. I want to spend how much of my time going forward I want to spend just reworking this material. Right? One of the things that I have found particularly challenging, and this is a physics specific problem, but it is that I probably should have said it earlier, is the coming up with homework problems. And that is one of the things that in other disciplines probably also we are going to compete, so to speak, with the commercial publishers. They have tons of resources there. There is in physics in particular, there is this thing called mastering physics, which they try to sell you at a cost, obviously, to you or to the students. And it's an enormous database of problems where the students can go and problem after problem after problem. I have to write down a problem and then spend, if I am lucky, I can get a TA to work out the solution, but even that is not entirely satisfactory because I guess that we are all under control freaks at some point. You want the solution to be worded in exactly the way that you want it to be worded. So it's an extremely time-consuming thing. I will see myself developing problems, homework problems for this textbook for the next 2-3 years.
Yeah, I'd echo those things. I think it's definitely a work in progress. So in my case, I just have it on GitHub. And then, as I make a change, it goes there. And I've started to try to think about, I know the big textbooks, they give slides in the instructions, so I make slides. And I this last year when I adopted it, a lot of the problems in the textbook are, I would work with the students and try to flip the class a little bit. That was kind of a hard thing for me to get that rhythm, but I could probably make those in-class worksheets available. And so the GitHub platform's nice. And I was really excited to hear about some of the Federal Reserve Bank resources. I mean, that's one thing I'd like to do is if the time series you're looking at in the textbook goes up to 2016, that's great until about next year. Then I need to, trying to work in ways to pull in that data as it gets updated, because it's basically, maybe consumer price index. But, it'd be nice to have it from the last 5 years as opposed to 10 years ago or something.
Right.
So textbooks get dated that way, but I think one benefit of OER is that it isn't published, it doesn't have an edition on it, it's kind of always a work in progress, and so hopefully we can keep them vibrant. And if we can get other people involved, then there's somebody else who's taking it besides you, and then I think it gives it more life too.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. Who gets the last one? Sarah from University of North Dakota. You're the winner.
Hello, I'm a librarian, and to me it's very obvious that writing an OER is considered research. It's a research endeavor, it's a scholarly output. Even remixing and reusing oftentimes and adding your own elements to me is research. In our university, recently faculty have been expected, or all of their job requirements have changed to increase the research output that they need to engage in. And OERs have not been considered research. It's been considered teaching or service. And have you talked with your departments or had any success with OERs being a research endeavor to go towards promotion and tenure? Maybe that's not important to you. If not, why not? Is it important? Do you think it would add to the conversation? It could also maybe be a platform that would make equity part of this equation, I think, if more faculty may want to engage in this, if it is something that's going to help push them up through the ranks, get promotion on a level that maybe has been difficult for them in the past. That's my first question. My second question is, in order to sort of compete with some of these large publishers who are putting open textbooks into platforms, adding syllabi and PowerPoints and things like that, would you as a faculty member who's written an OER be willing to take a small grant and develop some of those teaching materials as well and put them out in the open so that we don't have that issue?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great question.
Well, I might just, this is just the response to somebody from the ranks, but if there was a junior faculty member, I'd probably advise him or her not to go on, wait until you get promoted or tenured and then do it, because I don't think it carries the same weight, and I don't think textbooks carry the same weight, as the peer-reviewed articles, and those are the coin of the realm and the grants. Those are what the P&T committees look at, and I think that's probably the reality, at least my perspective.
Not very much in the way of recognition and support, especially recognition of OER's research. You're right, there's a lot of research that goes into writing a textbook and a lot of thought, academic and rigor and intellectual development. But he's right also, it's not seen to be the same as writing a peer-reviewed paper. And I would suggest that OER doesn't have quite the status that commercially published books do. If you're able to get a book published by a big name publishing house, it's seen to shine more brightly than, oh, you did OER, kind of, oh, you just took your own jump and stuffed it on the web, sort of thing. It seems to be, I think opinions will change as OER becomes more prominent and its status will rise. But right now, that rise in status is dependent upon those of us who choose to jump in early adopters. And our success will affect the way our administration views this in future. But right now, no, it's not as prestigious as many other sorts of research and publications.
I'm gonna jump in real quick. I kind of play devil's advocate right here. Do you think it's part of your role as being a awardee of this program to help change that conversation on campus?
Hell yes.
Good. But also talking with your department chairs, Dr. Hay, I work with your department frequently. He's one of mine. I enjoy working with him dearly. But I mean, I've had conversations with Provost Coleman and like not very serious like situations or anything, but just asking, and they are in the belief that, or at least in that one instance where I really drilled them about it, that it can be counted towards P&T, but as Sarah Kuhn kind of touched on that, it would be taught or talked about more in the teaching section of our, and so, but would it, do you think having it specifically written into the P&T document, say like just an open, in general, like if you publish open access and stuff? I know it's departmental and subject-based a little bit on some of that.
I think it certainly should count for something.
Yes.
I mean, I think that making the case for research would be difficult if you would, although there might be ways. I mean, you can, I can imagine somebody writing an article about how I wrote this book and my experience or whatever, and maybe published in some actual research journal or something like that. Or the pedagogy journal or something of that sort. So there are many ways. Getting a grant, even if it's a small grant from the local university, is a grant. All these things count, and it's certainly, I think that, like I said, I think my chair certainly values them. Therefore, so I tend to agree that it's a risky enterprise for a junior faculty member who still doesn't have it.
Yes.
But it seems to me that the university really, we should try, and I appreciate Stephanie says here, that we should really try to get the university administration to recognize that this is something that we are doing really as a service to the students, to the community, and value it and make it clear that it is valued. I think that too often our teaching efforts, we feel that teaching efforts are a little bit, not valued enough compared to grants or publications and things like that. I think that it would be nice, and it is a lot of work. So it would be nice to get some recognition for something that we keep working on our university administrators to understand.
Right now, I think each of us who produces an OER product, we have to go and make the case individually in our own department with our own chair and persuade. It's not written into P&T, so it's not seen as something that's officially blessed and recognized by the university. I think that needs to change. I think there's a tremendously deep pool of expertise here at the university that can produce OER materials that would be competitive and powerful in the marketplace, competitive with anything that's out there commercially.
Agree.
But I think there's a prejudice because it's not monetized. That it's not, if you give it away, it's worth every penny you collect for it. Kind of a mentality. And I think that needs to change. And it needs to change from the top down to both from the bottom up and the top down. From the bottom up, we need to produce great products that will be powerful in the marketplace, and powerful for our students, and powerful, in my case, for other teachers. And the university, from the top down, they need to recognize the work and the effort and the expertise, the quality that goes in. And there's an awful lot of focus on how many research dollars did you get, how many grant dollars did you bring in, and this brings in not a penny, but it brings an awful lot of value nonetheless. And we need to get that idea that we can't put a dollar sign on everything, and that this has value that needs to be recognized, in spite of the fact that we're saying, yes, we're going to give it away for free. That's not always valued in a capitalist society, but it needs to change.
If I could just add maybe one thing, I think where we were with open source software 20 years ago, I think where we are today, the best software is open source. You know, if I'm at a conference and I have PowerPoint slides, like, well, you're kind of a loser, everybody else is using Beamer LaTeX slides, right? You know, I mean, it's just completely changed, right? And so I hope that's where we are with OER, that, you know, the good stuff is not the proprietary lockdown stuff, but Microsoft sells, it's stuff that's being developed by the community, like you mentioned.
Okay. So we have to close up. Hopefully our panelists will stick around, answer some additional questions, but we're running close to time and I know some people have flights to get to. So with that, the panel is concluded, and we will go straight into closing remarks. And that actually first up is hopefully something that will give us hope